Welcome to Knafs at Night, I'm Ben.
I'm Austin.
And today we're talking about the little Lulu and how it is harder to make than you might think.
And we're headed to Oregon to check in on our friends at Work Sharp. Dang it, sorry. We're headed to Oregon to check in on our friends. Check in on our friends, man. Check in with our friends. Check in with our friends. And we're headed to Oregon to check in on our friends on work. I need 10 seconds here.
You're good. Welcome to Knafs at Night. Welcome to Knafs at Night, I'm Ben.
I'm Austin.
And today we're taking a look at the little Lulu and how it's harder to make than you might think.
And we're headed to Oregon to check in with our friends at Work Sharp and learn about their new knife.
Let's go! Almost forgot to say let's go.
I gave you the look. Before we get to knife manufacturing, let me tell you about the newsletter where we give away a knife every single week. All you have to do is sign up at knafs.com/newsletter. Last week's winner was Kyle H. from Madisonville, Kentucky.
Should we sweeten the pot this week?
Ooh, what are we gonna do?
Let's give away a Lulu Rev B.
Oh, baby.
One of the original Lulus for our email this week. So
Yes.
if you are signed up for our email, for now and forever, you are entered to win. But this week, can I do that? Yes!
Good
Did
luck.
it. Good luck. Okay, here's what we're doing today, guys. We are going to learn how we actually made the Lulu. Austin, we'll see you in a minute.
Bye.
And we've got Alan in studio. Alan, welcome to Knafs at Night. I know you've watched a lot of these. Good to have you on for real.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So Alan has been the mastermind behind actually making my weird ideas happen. He is good at math, science. I am good at weird ideas.
And machining logs and wood and...
I would call that science and math. I just have weird ideas. And so Alan and I were talking probably last year sometime. We're like, what if we made a knife? What if we threw a CNC machine in your garage and made a knife? And November of last year, we decided, let's do it. December, we bought the machine, stuck it in Alan's garage, and we're sitting at May 15th, 14th, and we have the little Lulu done.
Yeah,
it's just that easy, right?
Yeah, it was crazy because you know we think back, we're like, we'll buy a CNC machine, which most large equipment, it's like, okay, 6-week lead time, 3-month lead time, maybe 6-month lead time, and everything just came together like that, right?
We bought it used out of Denver, and literally by the time we had paid for it, and it was there, it was like a week and a half. It was like, holy smokes. So it's been really cool because the whole timeline has been really fast. But none of this little Lulu project would have happened without Alan digging into the details of how do we actually make things. I had figured out, okay, we want a Silex 7. We want to make this knife on it. And then I'm like, Alan, let's figure this out. So where did we start, Alan?
Oof.
On the actual like machining side, where did we go? What did we do?
Man, it's a little bit of a blur, to be honest. We tacked so many things so quickly. We started with, can we profile a blade, which you can see some of those over here, and then parallel path it with, can we make scales? I think that's primarily the two things that we went with first. Blades and scales.
Yeah, it's interesting because we bought a sheet of MagnaCut. Like, we didn't know what we were doing. 24 by 36 inch sheet of MagnaCut. I think they cost about $1,300 a piece. No idea what we were doing. We're like, cool. We have a blade profile. We sent a DXF file to a water jet place, and we're like, can you cut this for us? And they're like, yeah, here you go. And we got it back. I learned a new word, kerf. This was one of the original ones. So that's the angle that the water comes in on it. So the kerf was bad on these. Not terrible, but not good kerf. I learned a lot. You learned a lot. I learned a lot. But we ended up with these blanks, and I'm like, all right, Alan, go. And you're like, sweet. So you made this picture. What's going on here, Alan?
Yeah, so primarily the first step in making a knife, from my understanding, especially a fixed blade, is getting something that's very raw. You see a very ugly edge, down to something that looks very nice. So if you look at like the finished blade, every edge has a nice machine surface inside and out. And we said that's the first thing we want to do. Pre-heat treatment is get it down to the right shape, and then we'll do the grinding later. And so in this fixture, all we needed was just clearance around the part and be able to hold it down so that we could profile every feature, holes and outsides, including, and then we used a small tab to make this area secure that we cut off at the very end.
So some people don't do tabs. Why'd you go for a tab, Alan?
I went for a tab because it allows for the knife to be fixtured in one place the entire time from start to finish. Benefits being, there's a lot of knife makers who they don't go for this perfect match when it comes to scales to knife. They might make it bigger and do some chamfering or make it so that there's a little bit of room for error. Having this knife be basically like a sanded finish, if you're a hand knife maker, I wanted the knife to be accurate from start to finish, that nothing moved.
Cool.
So if we moved it using other methods, then that is a chance for error in alignment.
Yeah. So we ended up, this was kind of interesting to me because I'd had some friends that were like, you have to water jet MagnaCut because you end up with slag on the edges if you laser cut it. But then I had other friends that are like, just laser cut it and take the slag off. We ended up deciding to laser cut it in part because I ran into a guy down the road that I know who does laser cutting in like a barn next to his house. And so part of what we've really tried to do on this project is keep it hyper local. So like if we could ship it to California, we didn't want to do that. If we could ship it to Michigan, we didn't want to do that. We were like, how do we keep this in the smallest radius possible? So after you do your stuff, we ship it up to Boise to get heat treated. And then it comes down and it goes down to Axial Knives and they do surface grinding for us. They're about an hour and 10 minutes away down in Springville, Utah. And then it comes back to us, and this is where the hard part happens. What's next, Alan?
This is what was new to me. So general machining was not new to me. I've got CNC experience in the past over many years of
And you're a manufacturing engineer by day.
Yeah, so I'm a manufacturing engineer currently for Genie aerial work platforms, your scissor lifts, your booms, your telehandlers, wonderful products out there that help build our infrastructure. The grind was a new process for me, grinding anything. And so this comes back very hard after heat treatment. And so the end mills are not an option, right? Yeah. And so we use, I've got it right here. We use this grinding wheel right here inside of a CNC machine to run down in this fixture the blade and do both sides. And that was a huge learning curve because there's not a lot of documentation or reference documents for feeds and speeds and how-tos on how to grind a knife blade. And so we heavily relied on your friends that you've met over the years.
So we actually went to Chris Reeve Knives. Tim Reeve walked us around the shop. Here's some footage of that. And he showed us how they do it. And then Tim has taught TJ Swartz how to do it. So we went to TJ's shop. And TJ was highly helpful in teaching us, here's how you do this. This is like where my understanding of how these things work is so, like, principally up here, I understand it. Conceptually, like, how do you program this? Because you're sitting there programming that wheel to go a certain depth at a certain feed and speed to actually make this happen. And in fact, your fixture here is at a very certain angle so that when this blank sits on there, that angle must be right to give us a grind. This was one of the early grinds. In fact, we hadn't figured out how to get that flat on top of the blade yet. We were just like full flat grinding it.
We were still kind of up in the air on the design.
Yeah.
And some of the intricacies that made this very difficult is we are limited by a 3-axis mill, which means that the position of the knife has to be correct to the spindle because we can't tip in any direction. So companies who make large amount of knives, they probably have the capital to buy a very expensive machine to
Chris
avoid
Reeve
this.
Knives is on a 5-axis.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so we had to be very creative in making it so that we can make our own fixturing and machine it at the right angle. Any design change in this flat means all new fixturing all over again, which we went through that once.
I tried so hard. Like this, as a designer of things, and this has been one of my favorite parts of this project, is I never get to stand next to the machine and have somebody be like, Ben, you don't want to do that and you do want to do this in your design because I'm always sending it out somewhere, right? And so for me, this has been so cool to sit there and be like, well, we had an issue when we were first couple grinding, this corner, it just looked terrible. It was too sharp and not the right, and it kind of had this bulge happening on the corner. And I'm like, Alan, we got to fix that. And you're like, okay, let me work on it. So it's been really fun for me to kind of sit there with the machinist / engineer and figure out how to actually make it right.
And you can see that here, right? So this knife is a different slope than this knife because your start and end point are different. because we decided not to do this and go to this is the reason we had to make this all over again. So there's so many things that can cause downstream effects that are vast in effort and time. So we were very careful to try to, I was kind of acting as a coach in many ways
100%.
on the manufacturing side, design for manufacturing, right?
We design for fun around here.
So I was trying to,
We're getting better at that.
early on is like, hey, watch this, because I don't want you guys to have to figure it out and spend extra on this project.
For sure. I mean,
know,
every
little
piece of
things.
aluminum is an expense.
Yeah.
And when we work with a supplier, a lot of times that expense it's magically disappearing in a setup fee.
Mm-hmm.
We
That's
paid
usually a big number that they just kind of blanket over.
we
right?
paid for everything, which is crazy.
Yeah, and I remember one of our conversations, just to give us an example, you'll see this inside pocket. It doesn't really have a lot of functionality. However, the radius
I would argue that, but keep going. I'll come back to it.
Well, the detail that I'm going to point out.
Yeah, sure.
The size of this arc was very small in the original design, and it doubled the machine time because we had to use smaller end mills, had to go slower, had to do more passes. And, just coming in early and saying, hey, if you change this to a larger size, swooping angle, arc, it will make it so I can use a larger end mill, go faster, reduce the cost. Those are the types of details I was trying to provide to
manufacturer details.
to design for manufacturing.
Yeah. See, and I would argue that this is, if you want to cord wrap, if you want to run this naked without the scales on it, we designed this interior to be able to cord wrap it. It also is a weight saving hole.
Yeah.
And so I look at that and I'm like, no, that is designed, Alan. And you're like, well, just change the radius.
Right.
I'm like, oh, easy peasy. That's been probably my favorite part about all of this. When we started making the scales, so we take a piece of micarta, it goes in there, you drill the holes in it, and then we fixture it into the next fixture here. You and I spent the better part of a Saturday morning trying to figure out the step over. What's a step over, Alan?
Yeah, I think that was after a bike ride too, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
So we were sweaty, stinky, and figuring out our step
and
over.
in our spandex. I wish we had pictures.
The ride was worth it. Let's see. So I'm going to pick, I just randomly grabbed two, and you can get a better picture of this later if you need to. When you have these shapes that are complex, they're not flat. A flat shape like this can be in one pass. Boop, you're done in a machine. However, when you have shapes that are very complex, the amount of time you spend machining it can be drastically increased if you want a very smooth surface. Mm-hmm. So the step over is, think of taking a round ball and rolling over the part. It's how far you go for each pass. Mm-hmm. So those of you who are 3D printers or 3D printer fans, it could be related to like your layer height. You want really good detail, you do really thin layer height.
Yep.
And so we have the end mill passing back and forth. In the very first version, I went with a very fine step over because I just took a guess that, hey, you want it really smooth.
The original prototype I carried was this one, and I love the smooth factor. In fact, I will probably, once I get one that's mine, I don't have one that's mine. You don't either. We've used them all for marketing and stuff, but I'm going to take sandpaper and just like smooth it completely because I love smooth micarta.
Or maybe we run this special program for Ben.
It could be. See, now I have control. These are options.
It's in-house control that you didn't have. And so we wanted to see in this process of a Saturday morning, how far can we step over and still have what we like as far as look and feel, because it reduces the program runtime significantly. I don't remember the exact times, but it was probably about a 300% difference between this one and the fine.
Yeah.
And so this one, let's see, the step over was 45 thousandths of an inch. Started to look very coarse, which isn't a bad thing. Some people might like this. It has a very grippy feel. However, we landed somewhere in the middle, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And this whole process for me has been super, super fun. So the Lulu series, you've got the original that's made by White River. And that's been a manufacturing process. Like we ended up laser cutting the jimping originally. Now it's saw cut. Like we've made changes on this, but I'm not standing there watching it happen. Same thing with the LT Wright made version. On this little Lulu project, this has been so fun to be able to stand there and be like,
And keeping it local, right? Like both of us got to go and see the laser cut, and I was able to give advice because of downstream processes. He asked questions, I asked questions.
In fact,
it's been great.
We sat there, and between you and Joe, you figured out that if you made the tab just a little bit smaller, we could get like 20 more pieces in each sheet of MagnaCut.
Yeah.
That's cost savings. That's the ability to make everything more efficient and be lean, as they would say, with the Six Sigmas. But that's been one of my favorite parts about this is this vertical integration, this ability to sit down and say, well, okay, we're trying to hit this target price. What can we do upstream to be able to hit that downstream price? And it's been really, really fun to be part of that part of the process. And I appreciate you, Alan, and what you've done on this, because I have wild ideas. You have actual skills to make it happen. So thanks for being part of it.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Guys, we're going to go back to the desk. And if you're watching this, you should definitely go check out the Little Lulu on Kickstarter. It will be live on Kickstarter until June. Go check it out. It is the Little Lulu made at Knafs. Thanks for being on, Alan.
Thank you.
And we're back. Welcome back, Austin.
Hey.
Glad you didn't poof off forever.
Good to be home.
What do you think about the Little Lulu, Austin?
Man, what a fun project that has been.
It's been wild.
Yeah, I would say I did not anticipate the number one amount of work that it would take to make something yourself.
Yeah.
And number two, how fast you can do it if you put your mind to it.
Holy smokes, like face melting fast though. Like the number of like late night texts from Alan, emails, like we have just like really tried to get this done fast.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to, number one, how great of a partner Alan has been in this process.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yep. And number two, how ready we were for a project like this. And by ready, I don't mean prepared. I mean, we were ready to take on something ourselves.
Yeah, totally.
And you know, the time of whatever is going on economically right now, global trade, all of that stuff, the timing was perfect.
We've talked about tariffs on this show, and reality is we need to be making more of our own stuff.
Yeah.
And controlling that supply chain better, vertically integrating. We've talked about all of these things, and by golly, we've done it.
It was a great catalyst for us to really jump in. So
for sure.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys like it. It's on Kickstarter right now, so go check it out. And we'd love your support on the Little Lulu project. Okay, so Austin, we're making things domestically. I got invited on a field trip to see how Worksharp makes things, assembles things in Oregon. Kind of a weird one, because they invited influencer Ben, not Knafs owner Ben.
Yes.
So they invited me up to Ashland, Oregon with a whole bunch of other influencers, Best Darn Heckin' EDC, Jared Neves, Sam Raven the Pirate, and then Alex from Outdoors 55, as well as another couple folks were there. And I got to go to Oregon. So let's go on a wild trip to see how Worksharp is making the remix. Let's go on a wild trip to see how Worksharp is making the remix.
This whole episode's gonna be a remix of horrible cuts.
What is up, guys? I am in Ashland, Oregon. I've been invited here by Worksharp to this beautiful spot to come check out their factory and to see their brand new pocket knife that they've just come out with. Let's go check it out. Headed into Worksharp, I'm gonna introduce you to Joey. How you doing, Joey?
Doing great.
Dude, what do you do here?
I'm the director of engineering.
We're gonna do a rapid fire tour. Then we're gonna see this new knife. Let's go.
This very tiny disclaimer that says this information is not to be shared outside of Worksharp. No photography or videography.
Normally, we make sharpeners, but we're actually starting to make knives.
What you're seeing here is this entire supply chain happening before it ends up in this box. So all of that assembly happens right here with this team. But before that assembly can happen, you gotta have the parts. And that's where the supply chain comes in, is you got to get every single one of those pieces, springs, screws, everything right here on the floor. So that's what I'm curious about. How does that process happen?
This is all the different parts for the Pro PA and how many suppliers and redundancies that we all have from all around the world. Worksharp, we always try to have at least one backup. One of the biggest things that we didn't ever want to do is be stuck in one place. So we never wanted to be stuck in China only, or in Vietnam, or only in Taiwan. We always wanted to have backups for any geopolitical issues that may arise. This allows us to be able to switch suppliers midstream if we needed to. It also allows us to have a little bit more flexibility of where things should be made or where we can get them made.
So this is your usual.
This is our usual, yes.
What is your unusual? Take me there.
Unusual?
Yes.
So over here is our engineering department. So we've got our production engineering on this side. We've got manufacturing engineering over yonder. So we have all of our, couple more of our new product development engineers over here. Our lead designer, Dan Doble.
Okay, guys, if you've watched any of Zach in the Wild stuff, he talks a lot about Dan. Dan is a legend at Workshop.
This is true. Dan, you designed this knife. Tell me about it. Where did the design idea come from?
Fundamental idea is I wanted a really good work knife, and for real work, the stuff we do every day, which is cutting boxes, cutting straps, cutting plastic ties. Biggest thing is a design that can handle doing things that you shouldn't do. Using your knife as a screwdriver and a pry bar. Nice. Nothing's going to be super tough or live through anything you'll put at it, so I wanted a knife that you can service.
Why not just import a finished knife? Why are you assembling here?
This is our brand story. We're all about sourcing global components and being able to utilize our workforce here in Ashland, Oregon to actually assemble something but still pass on that value to the customer.
Here's the story, guys. At Workshop, they've got one of these new RMXs for me to assemble. So I'm going to throw this thing together. You can basically swap out the pivot cartridges to make this thing an auto. So you can either have it a button lock or a push button automatic. And it is a remarkable amount of like small screw adjustability tech that goes into this. I have assembled a knife and now Joey is going to laser something fun on there. Watch this.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, it's all right. That did not do what I wanted it to do.
Oh, it's photographed. It's in there.
I love it, Joey. Ghostly Gary is now a thing. It's happening. You guys are in Ashland, Oregon.
Yep.
In Medford is NIC.
White City. Yeah, White City. Even smaller than Medford. So
Should we go on a field trip?
heck yeah.
This just became a field trip within a field trip. We're going to go to
NIC.
NIC, where Cerakote is made. Let's go. So Worksharp has us on a wild tour here in Oregon. We're gonna go to NIC right now, where they make Cerakote right here in this building, headquartered right here in Medford, Oregon. Let's go. Worksharp's gonna be using these on the knife handles that they use. So it's pretty dang cool to see start to finish all the chemistry, all the like super smart kid stuff that they're doing out here to be able to create these super durable, ultra thin coatings that you're using on anything from firearms to knives to automotive to satellites, which to me is super, super cool. And there you have it, guys, from Ashland, Oregon. Huge shout out to the Worksharp team for having me and these other creators, Sam, Taylor, Jared, as well as Alex from Outdoors 55. We'll link to their work down in the description. And if you want to check out this new knife, worksharptools.com is the place to go look for it. Back to the desk. And we're back at the desk. Cool trip to Ashland. I was
cool.
impressed.
Yeah.
You can probably talk to this, Austin. I came home just like chattering about what they're doing up there.
Ben is an idea guy first and foremost, and the amount of inspiration that he pulled from that one trip was pretty incredible. He's like, I've got stuff for ops, I've got stuff for marketing, I've got stuff for supply chains, manufacturing, this and that. So
They were incredibly kind to invite me up, and huge shout out to Worksharp for doing it. Let's talk about the knife, Austin. You've handled this a bit.
yeah.
The remix.
Yeah, the remix. Really cool. Yeah, RMX. This is a really interesting knife. I think clearly the big selling point here is that it's got basically a swappable pivot that allows you to convert it from a manual button lock knife to an automatic.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting.
Comes
I'm
with
not
all the
sure.
hardware to be able to do that.
Not sure if it's the first one.
I don't know that I've ever seen that before.
Yeah.
I've seen like your dual action where you can manual it or automatic it.
Right.
I'm not much of an auto guy.
Yes.
And in fact, I would say that the swappable feature for me is not, like, I would not buy this for that.
Okay.
But I mean, and I almost feel bad saying that because they've spent so much R&D to get that to work, right?
Yeah.
This is a ProTech Calmigo. I like my autos to be autos and my manuals to be manuals.
Got it.
I don't like looking at this table and being like, okay, that one's converted, that one's not. Like, I like things to be very standard and known.
Yeah.
And this kind of flies in the face of that.
Sure.
That said, comes in 2 sizes. I love the mini version. I don't know if that's the official name, but I love the size. It's right in my lane.
Really cool.
For so many reasons and ways. This one has a Ghost Gary laser engraving on it. I don't know if that made the cut for the field trip, but Joey was laser engraving Gary the cat on there.
Heck yes.
And this one did not fly.
Yes.
But I kind of like Ghost Gary.
That's okay. We love him.
Anyway, they did another one. But here's the thing that I really like about this.
Tell me.
You know me and the baby banter.
Yes.
Like, these make me happy.
Yeah.
Like, this size, this shape, like, this is right in my lane. Tell you what doesn't make me happy.
Okay.
And I don't mean to be critical, but I don't like opening a knife with a button lock.
Right,
Like,
talking about that conversion and the 2 features, there comes some limitations with that, right? If you're going to create an auto, you probably want that blade to be locked in the channel no
You
matter
have to.
what.
Yes.
Or else it can accidentally deploy if you brush it or push it down and it pops back up or something like that. So
What you lose is this. This fidgety factor that I love it on the baby banter. I love it on the lander. Like, that satisfying fidget factor is so fun to just be able to just, with your thumb. This is a full wrist, open and close.
Right.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
yeah, it's a different kind of fidget is maybe how I would describe it. And, you know, some people are all about the button lock. I'm similar to you in that I don't love that being my opening mechanism, but different from you, I actually think that it is really cool that you get to convert this. And I
I
think
do
that,
too.
you know, that may open like, you can say this is 2 knives in one. I'm getting 2 for 1.
Yeah.
You know, which I think is pretty cool.
Well, and it sort of sidesteps some of the legalities around it too, right? If you live in an area where you cannot own an automatic knife, you can still own the Remix.
Yep.
Or if you're like, well, I'm going to visit my friend in Utah where the laws are lovely,
Yeah.
you can swap it out and turn it into an auto.
I'll turn it in when it gets there, and
I have a few samples from earlier.
Yeah.
These are kind of fun.
they've been working on this a long time.
They have. I think I've had these almost a year. I don't know if they want me to show these or not, but I'm showing them. Is that rude?
no,
I don't know.
they'll appreciate it, I hope.
This is fun. It's fun to see the design process. This
Yeah.
was an early edition. I don't think they ended up making it. This is a polymer handle. But I love the blade shape, and I do think at some point they're doing that blade shape.
Yeah, kind of a reverse Tonto there.
But I love the fact, like, they've gone with a magnesium handle. They've played some games on this.
Yeah.
And pushed limits in ways that, like, I came home. They've taken 2.5 years on this thing.
Yeah.
And I said, they have the luxury of time.
Yes.
And I thought, what would I do with the luxury of time,
know.
right? Because they are a sharpening company, first and foremost. This is what they do all day, every day, as sharpeners.
Yep.
And they're in a spot where they can, like, take that R&D time, that 2.5 years of R&D, because they're selling sharpeners.
Right.
I've never had 2.5 years of R&D on anything.
I know we talked a little bit about how quickly the little Lulu came together earlier, right?
Yes.
Like, imagine what that could have been with 2 more years behind it or something like
what
that.
would we do on that? Like, let's...
You know what is fun about that game is I'm not sure because it ended in a really great spot. I think that we would make some fine refinements to maybe like some of the angles and the lines on it. But
Yeah.
otherwise, we are, you know, and saying that, we're kind of building this knife based on the tools that we have. I
Yeah.
think that's another limitation, right? So if we had more time, more money to have different tools, try different things,
Yeah.
it may have turned out differently.
What's the old saying? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yep.
Right? Like, I feel like for me, the little Lulu has always been like, make it happen as quickly as humanly possible.
Well, and you know what's funny about saying that it wasn't a 2-year project is that in a way it was.
Yeah, you're right. I thought of that as soon as I said it because the original,
Yeah.
we got the prototype original a year ago. I designed it September of 23.
3.
So it has been a 2-year project, but definitely one that we were not working on at all.
And I think, yeah, it was very different in that the initial project was we were going to have this OEM'd by somebody.
That's true.
And so what was really expedited was the bringing it in-house and making it ourselves.
Because we like redesigned it in November and then we're finished in
Yeah.
mid-May.
Yep. Crazy.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
I love the fact that they have had the time and energy to be able to play with the handles, magnesium.
Yeah.
Good idea, bad idea? I don't know, man. I think it's cool. They're Cerakoting it.
Yeah, and I would say a similar thing in that, like, because they had that time, I look at this knife and I'm like, this is a unique idea. I don't see anything like this, you know? And so that is part of what that luxury of time affords you, is to mold the idea over, twist it, turn it, figure out how you can make it special.
Like, do this on it.
Yeah.
Because I think about this, I'm like, yeah, I don't have the engineering chops to want to solve that problem.
Right.
And I think maybe that's what I love the most, is they have solved something that nobody previously had figured out in an easy package, right? Like, that's pretty dang cool.
Awesome.
I get a kick out of it. And it was cool to see their operation. I kind of geeked out over the supply chain.
Yeah.
Like, shoot, man, that's super, super cool.
Those guys are the best.
That's Workshop. Huge shout out to the whole team up there for having me up and letting me learn. I really enjoyed that.
Right on.
What else we got, Austin?
Let's head to Facebook.
Ooh.
A Moon Crew moment.
Let's go hang out with Zuckerberg.
Zuck, what's up, dog?
Oh, that's weird.
Oh, yes, here we go. Ben does not love this, I have a feeling, because he does not love the mini hand. But we have these, this is from Jen Easley, who works here with us at Knafs. She's our customer service and dealer rep and does a lot of other things for us. But Jamie had purchased these small hands. I think it was for the Lander 6 specifically, but maybe the Lander 5. But we bought them for a reason. We didn't end up using them, and he's just had a bag of tiny hands on his desk.
These tiny hands show up at like trade shows.
They do.
They show up like
I took one to Blade Show Texas and put it in the tool burrito, and Ben immediately found it and threw it in the trash.
No, I gave it to somebody.
Okay,
I was like, do you want this? And they were like, yes,
good.
I'll take it.
Perfect.
I'm like, thank you.
But Jen loves the comedic purpose of the mini hand, and so she's holding a Lander 6 with her little mini hand there.
That one hurts me, but it's fine.
It's fun. Next up, we've got one from Michael Cassani, who's got a simple carry. That looks like a black Lander 2 that has been swapped with blue scales.
That's fun.
Yeah, really good looking
love
knife.
the yard. I don't know where Michael's from, but it kind of looks like Florida with some solar panels.
Yep, I'm seeing some palm tree in the corner there and some solar. So somewhere that gets a lot of sun for sure.
I like that.
And last up here.
My current Knafs collection, something about them 1, 3, and 4 is no, unless they made a Tonto in the 3.
Yeah.
Dave Rodriguez, thank you, Dave.
Beautiful collection.
Tonto 3.
Interesting.
Do we like the Tonto?
I don't know. Do the people like the Tonto
the
would be
people like
another
the Tonto?
question. Yeah.
If we did a Tonto 3, I would have some qualifications.
Okay.
Number one, we'd have to get that blade as long as possible. The 2 is
little
actually a
longer.
little shorter than typical. And then I want black.
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 Yes.
Yes. Double black diamond.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We could talk all day about the plans that we had for the original Tonto that
was
did not
not
happen.
black.
Yes, but that's sometimes how it goes. So
Solid.
yeah.
What else you got today, Austin?
Yeah, I think next up, let's jump into some mail.
Ooh, do we have mail? Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
This is our second episode today, guys. Sometimes we have to film these in bulk based on schedules. Jamie is headed out of town.
Yes.
To beautiful places.
So, yeah, he's going to go get, I think, scuba certified. I hope he doesn't mind me giving that away. And we're also about to launch a Kickstarter, so it's hectic times right now.
It is hectic time, so we're doing 2 at once. Here are some comments. This is coming from a video that's a little bit old now, but the Vosti knife that looks like the Baby Banter is not the raccoon model, but rather it's the raccoon cub model, whose design is supposed to be a shrunk-down version of the raccoon. Somebody says not a raccoon. I can confirm that is definitely not a raccoon.
Dang. Okay.
Which I think is fun because it's a play on their username.
Definitely not. Next up from Jody, 6441. The shadow of the knifiest knife looks just like an Elementum. Interesting.
That's a really good point.
Wow. I guess it does.
Yeah, the hive mind.
Yeah, the hive mind.
This is from Al the Science Pal. Can I tell you about Al the Science Pal? I wish I had this on the desk, but he makes miniature cannons, and he sent me one a couple years ago. I hope we can get a miniature cannon.
Do they fire?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
he ships them with gunpowder.
I know where I want to go on the next field trip, to whatever field we can shoot that in.
Yeah, I've only shot him in the desert once because it is like a regulated good. He's shipping actual gunpowder. I don't know if he's still making them, but Al, you're amazing. First of all, I'm going to need one of those harmonica knives. We all are. And secondly, I think you should close out every episode with a Timber Rattler song, at least until we get sick of it, which will be never. Agreed.
Shout out.
Thank you, Al.
Next up from Bigfoot Guitar Co. The 3D printed Harmo knife has me rolling. Needed this in my life. I'm glad that the public needs the harmonica knife as much as we did.
That would be fun.
Yes.
I still want to do it, but It's logistically, again, time, right?
Yeah.
If we had 2.5 years to do the harmonica knife,
Yeah.
we're in.
To use a corporate term, it's backburnered for now.
Back burner.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to circle back. This comes from Amy D, PNW. I would love to see a Knafs and 1000 scales collab. A lot of his work would translate well to Ben's designs. I don't know 1000 scales.
Me neither.
But
We're gonna have to do a little bit of research.
maybe Jeff can mash them up on screen for us.
There we go.
Cool. What else we
that's
got?
it.
Is that the whole show?
That's it. Wow. Feels like
was
it
a-
flew by.
That was a lot today. Guys, thanks for watching. We will have another episode coming out for you next week. Unless we fall in a small heap on the floor in the fetal position, we will have another episode coming out for you. Can we say that?
Yeah, we're gonna starve to death probably. That's what's actually gonna happen here.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you next time.